Okay, so we're filming inside today, so perhaps sound will be better. My name is Gaby Dunn, and this is a vlog channel, and I asked you guys on Twitter for questions about bisexuality so that we could do a bi Q&A. What happened is that you guys wrote so many questions. Like, I think there's 50 here. That's great. That means that people have a lot of questions about bisexuality. There's a lot of people that are bisexual that still don't know everything. Because who does? Who knows everything? Nobody. Not even me. I am bisexual, and I will be answering your questions purely by my experience. So don't take, my answers as bond, because they're not. They're just what I think. Please don't act like I'm speaking for all bisexuals. That's a real big problem in marginalized communities where one person speaking seems to have to answer for every person in that marginalized community. So let's not do that. Okay, great. Are all bisexuals slutty? And 2, why can't you pick a side? This is a joke question from a friend of mine who is bi, but they are things that people have said to us. So I do want to address it. One, no, not all bisexuals are slutty, but not all straight people are slutty either. So it just depends on the person and how sexually active they want to be. Also, I identify as slutty, I've reclaimed that word. A lot of people haven't and don't like it. Why can't you pick a side? I don't know. Have you seen all the genders out there? They're all pretty good looking. How do you deal with lesbians who think bisexuality is fake and hurting their community, but call you lesbophobic if you call them out? Yeah, there's a lot of infighting within queer women that I don't love. And I understand why lesbians are defensive. I get it. They've been targeted throughout history in really, really fucked up negative ways. So I understand that. However, I think we all have to work together. And I think by edging out certain other queer women because they don't fit your exact mold and your exact experience doesn't really help everyone or anyone. So I think, bisexuals and lesbians and all types of queer women should try their best to get over the defensiveness and work together. And I think once you do, then it is just works as the greater good for everybody. But I really, speaking as bisexual, I do understand where lesbians are coming from. I just think you gotta see where bisexual women are coming from too, wherein they have a lot of their own issues as well, and both of those issues are valid. When and how do you tell people you are just starting to date that you are bi? So I'm in a weird situation where most of the people I date know already because I'm so fucking vocal about it. I think, even if I'm friends with someone, I kind of put it up front. It's also in my Tinder bio, so if I go out with someone I don't know, they see it, presumably. I try to make it very casual. If I'm on a date or if I'm talking to someone, I sort of be like, my ex-boyfriend or my ex-girlfriend. I say I went to some bisexual meetup or whatever. I try to keep it, or you can use me. You can say, oh, who's your favorite YouTuber? My favorite YouTuber is Gaby Dunn because she's bisexual like me. Whatever. Just try to make it part of the conversation of getting to know each other. In your experience, do non-monogamous people tend to be more open to dating bisexuals? Do they respond to your sexuality differently? It does really help that I'm non-monogamous. Super helpful. I can't say that it doesn't, because I only know my experience as a non-monogamous person, which is it's great to be with someone who presents one way and be able to explore other people. That's really helpful to me and helps a lot with internalized biphobia that I have. I'm not saying that's the right answer. I'm just saying that's what has worked for me. So yeah, a lot of times non-monogamous people are a bit more open to that idea just because they're already sort of shooed away as part of the kink community, but or part of the open relationship, different alternative relationship model. So in my experience, yeah, although there is a bit of a expectation for you especially as a bisexual woman to be open to threesomes, which I think if you're not, that could really cause a lot of shittiness towards you in terms of being a bisexual person in the non-monogamous world. How do I make it more obvious that I'm not straight? Subtle cues. I do something, I've cut my hair and I'm wearing this fucking shirt, but I dress differently now than I did if you go way, way, way far back in the Just Between Us videos. But I used to just wear rainbow earrings, which is not a signal to everyone, but people who are keen and trying to figure out if you're queer will get it. I would wear a lot of bi shirts. I would wear a lot of, I don't know, rainbow bracelets, like just little signifiers that people can go, oh, okay. Rainbow phone case. I've seen a lot of people with that. What advice do you have for young bi people still trying to come to terms with their sexuality? I'm 29 and I still have issues. So don't expect everything to one day be perfect, and don't expect everything to one day make sense. Like, everybody's figuring shit out. Even gay and straight people have, are not sure about everything all the time, so don't put pressure on yourself to be. Advice for someone who didn't realize their bisexuality until their 20s and after they were in a committed straight relationship. I don't know. It's hard for me because I am non-monogamous, so it is easier for me to say, oh, go out and experiment. But maybe there's some sort of conversation you can have with your partner about if you feel like you want to experiment. If you don't, if you just want to be with your partner, then that's completely acceptable. Like, you're still bi. You are still bi. Bi is about desire and not about action. So don't feel bad, essentially. But it is something that maybe you should discuss with your partner. I came in here for better sound, and someone is doing all the garbage stuff, taking out the garbage. Okay. How do you flirt with girls without seeming creepy or like a nice straight girl? Yeah, that's tough. I mean, I kind of do a thing where I go, I'm asking you on a date. This is a date. Like, if I ask to hang out with a girl, I will, before the hangout, be like, I want to know if this is a date. And then if it isn't a date, then, and you're like cool with that, then still go hang out with them and like have a friend, Because this whole friend zone thing is so ridiculous to me. Like, queer women, it happens to us all the time, constantly. I'm constantly like, is this a date? Someone's like, no. I'm like, great, we're still friends. So the anger that comes up when like you bring up the friend zone for straight men is so weird, because technically I'm friend zoned all the time. And I'm just like, whoa, what a cool friend. Definitely try to clarify if something is a date. But if it's not a date, then the way to not seem creepy is to just be like, okay, and then don't push it. How do you deal with internalized biphobia? Yeah, I deal with that all the time. And I'm super confident. And I am still so like stressed out by my bisexuality all the time. And that's statistically accurate. There are studies that show that bisexual people have higher rates of depression and anxiety, are more likely to be victims of domestic abuse because they don't have a lot of self-esteem. So once they're in a relationship, they want to stay, and they'll stay no matter what. So there are like scientific studies that prove that. And I think of depression and anxiety and insecurity comes from internalized biphobia, which sucks. I think it's like, there are a lot of really fun things about bisexuality, which we'll get to later in the Q&A, but a lot of it is just so rough, and I still struggle with it. So don't expect everything to be perfect, and don't beat yourself up on top of it. What do you think about the theory that everyone is bi? I love it, but I also understand how some people think it erases their sexuality. So fine. I get it. You don't all want to be fun. I'm kidding. But seriously, consider it. But you don't have to. Does it have to be 50-50? No, it does not. There are some people who are bi who identify as like 80-20. There's some people who don't even use that because there are all kinds of genders, not just two. How many denim flannel shirts did you have when you started to question your sexuality? I was 12, so I didn't have any yet, but I do own a lot of denim jackets, like way too many denim jackets. How long did it take you to accept you were bi and stop trying to figure out if you were homosexual or not? So that's the thing with internalized biphobia. I'm very sure that I'm bi, and I still have freakouts where I think I'm gay. I still panic and think about like choosing a side. It doesn't really go away, and you can work on it, and you can go to therapy, and you can try, and you can like accept yourself and surround yourself with people who accept you, and read books and watch videos like this and love on yourself. But like, it's hard. It's really difficult because I think it would be so much easier to be one or the other. I had a couple friends. One of them is an immigrant and one of them is a lesbian, and we were at dinner, and I said, who do you think has it harder? And without hesitating, both of them said, you do, as a bisexual. So take that for what it's worth. What's one thing that you would like allies and other LGBT people to understand about bisexuality? That it's real and that it has its own issues, its own health problems, its own issues with doctors, and therapists not believing you, and how that leads to certain health crises, especially for bisexual men. That dating us is not any different. Like, you're not, statistically, it's not like a bisexual man is gay or a bisexual woman is straight. Like, not everything revolves around dick, like, or not everything revolves around being attracted to men, I should say, not dick. But like, just hear us out, understand that we're real, let go of any prejudices you have where you think we're faking in some way, because it doesn't help us. I need advice on telling my dad, who is not agreeing with the way I am, that I met a girl and we started dating. If you feel like your dad is not likely to get violent, or if you feel like your dad is not likely to kick you out, like, you're not required to come out unless you feel safe. So make sure you're safe first, and then have a contingency plan. So if he's upset and it goes poorly, make sure you have a friend outside who can pick you up and take you somewhere safe. Make sure you have a couch you can sleep on. Like, make sure you have some money saved. Like, have a contingency plan if you think it's not going to go well. If bi is an umbrella term, do you think someone who's ace but biromantic to describe themselves as bi is misleading? No, I don't at all. You can be bisexual and ace. What would you say to someone questioning your bisexuality just because you've only had relationships with one gender? I don't know, are virgins not straight or gay? Like, bisexuality is about desire, it's not about action. And ask them, say, do you want to fuck a woman? If you're a bisexual woman and you're asking this question, do you say to them, do you want to fuck a woman? And if they go, no, I go, oh, well, how do you know? Same way that I know that I do want to. How do you see the difference between pansexuality and bisexuality? I honestly have no idea. I used to get accused of bisexuality being about the gender binary. So people would say I should identify as pan. Bisexual is just the first term I heard, and I like it, and I want to keep it. And that's just what's most comfortable for me. I don't quite know what the difference is. On the real though, how does heteroflexibility or homoflexibility fit in with bisexuality in terms of mainstream acceptance? It's tough because I don't want to tell other people how to identify, but part of me thinks that means you're bi. Sorry. If you don't agree, talk about it in the comments. What's your favorite thing about being bi? The community. How do you define bisexuality? Attraction to people like yourself and people not like yourself. Is it okay to call yourself lesbian or gay sometimes if you're bi to avoid long explanations? I think so. And I think it's shitty when people tell you can't say lesbian, because if what you're doing is, like, I'm bi, right? But if I'm fucking a woman, that is lesbian sex. So where the hell do I meet gay chicks? Being bi and more femme, people assume I'm straight. Makes it hella hard to meet girls. Join clubs. I mean, there's tons of like gay events. There's gay bars. There's something in LA called Queers and Donuts, which you can go to. Go to gay like stand-up shows. Like, there are places where you can meet other queer people. Get on Tinder. Do you ever go through phases of being much more into guys or girls during a period of time, or is it purely based on people you meet? It is based on people I meet, but I do go through periods where I'm more interested in women or more interested in men. It depends. Just like sometimes you're into people who have dark hair and sometimes you're into people who have light hair. It's just like what you're going through at the time. Was it always very obvious to you that you were bi? Did you test theories? No, I kind of always knew. I mean, I was 12 and I was like, oh, this is going to be a problem. And then I decided to just table it until I was older. But yeah, I knew I liked boys for sure. And then I also was like very weird around girls, like super weird, like in a way that I knew I was behaving incorrectly based on how other girls behaved. And I still have problems with like female friendships because I'm very used to closing off and very used to protecting myself around women so they wouldn't understand I'm gay, even though like, or you know, so I would try to not act too gay, and then that's kind of kept as part of my psyche. Would you rather have a super stereotypical bi character or not have them at all? I guess I'd rather have the stereotypical one, but I'm such a sucker for that shit. Do you think it's okay for bisexuals to use the word queer? Yes, I do. Who are some of your favorite bi content creators we should follow and support? Oh man, so many. I love Ashley Ford. She's a writer. Dodie Clark, Connor Manning, Melanie Murphy. Sarah Benincasa has done some great writing on bisexuality. Elio Cruz, Zach Zane, Sarah Ramirez, Halsey. I don't know if she counts as a content creator. Stephanie Beatriz. How do you handle subtle biphobia who don't stop after you explain why it's hurtful? I mean, I kind of just do what I did when my dad would ask me questions that I didn't like. So here's what I realized. Oh God, this is so therapy, but here it is. You have the power, because if these people love you, they want you in their life. So what you have to do is say no. And then if they say, why, blah, 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 exit the situation or shut down. And then you can go, look, you have two options. You can either have me in your life and behave the way I want you to behave, or I can go. It's up to you. And if they love you and they want you in their life, then they will adjust their behavior. Maybe not always as so easily, but like I've had to do this where like my dad would always ask me about money all the time, and I didn't want to talk to him about money because it would be at inappropriate times. And so what I would do is I would say, if you ask me about money on this phone call, I will hang up. And then after a bunch of times of doing that, he understood that I was not playing around. And then because he loves me and wanted me in his life, he adjusted his behavior. What is the most confusing thing to figure out about your sexuality? I think the most confusing thing is how other people treat you. Like, I'm not confused. I know that I'm bi, but the way that other people treat me confuses me. Is there a bi haircut? Yes, I have it. Have you ever had doubts about being bi? All the time. I think I'm gay. But then I see chest hair on men and I'm like, hello. At what point do you call yourself bi? Whenever you feel like you're bi. I think you know in your heart what you are. When to tell your kids, and should you, if you are bi, if you are in a straight relationship? I say yes. I think that more visibility is important. I think that your kids should absolutely know that you're bi, even if you're with their, parent and your relationship looks straight. I think it's important for them to know because as they grow up, they can understand that you are part of a community that they should care about. And I also think take them to Pride. Like, that's so fun. Don't shutter them from a part of your life. What can we do in the bisexual community to support our LGBTQA plus community better that directly ties into our sexuality? Get involved. Don't feel like just because you're bi, you can't be a part of charities or marches or LGBT center events. You're not half gay, so get involved. How long did it take between thinking you might be bi to accepting you're bi? So thinking was like 12, accepting was 18, so 6 years? Is it really necessary to come out? It really depends. You don't owe anyone a coming out. No one should be allowed to out you. It really depends on your situation. I used to think so differently about this. I used to be like, you have to come out. It's better for visibility in the community. But now I'm like, everyone in their own time. Who did you first come out to? My sister, and she did not care. In a nice way. In a nice way, she did not care. How do you deal with dating, liking a guy, and still feeling welcome in the queer community? Oh my God. I don't know. I worry about this all the time. I struggle with it all the time. Even being poly, where I have multiple relationships, I feel weird about the men. And I don't really know why. I think it's just optics and the way other people see you. And it sucks. Honestly, like I was talking to a friend who was like, well, I felt weird bringing my boyfriend to this gay award show because I was like, well, I'm part of the LGBT community. And I was like, but the B means that you can be dating a man. That is what the B means. So you're part of the community too. Don't be erased. Why is it important to be loud about being bi? I mean, if you are bi and you're out, I like doing it because it gives other people role models and it gives other people examples and it probably helps people. I hope. That's my whole goal. Do you think the term straight relationship for bi people is legit? I personally don't. I think a relationship with a queer person in it is queer. You can debate that in the comments. How do you bring up your sexuality in new relationships to see whether they'll be accepting? I think you gotta do it up top. You can't wait until you're already in the relationship with the person because then you'll just, if they don't take it well, that's like a weird web to get out of. And you don't want to date them anyway. As a bi, I came out to myself first as gay, then years later as bi. How common is that process? I think it's easier. I think sometimes it's easier to be black and white about things. So there are some people I know who are gay, who are bi, but don't want to deal with the stigma of being bi, so they just stay one way or the other. And I get it. I mean, I get it. But so I don't know how common that is. But I think I would suspect there are a lot more people on either end that are bi and just don't want to deal with it. I'm a male who tends to be attracted to bi queer women and less attracted to straight women. Is that legit or am I just a perv? You like who you like, dude. Maybe you like the aesthetics of queer women better. Maybe you just think that they're more open-minded, or you like, I mean, as long as you're not pressuring them into any sort of like sex act because they're queer, I think you're fine. There are a lot of shaming, rejection of bad bis who are blamed for stereotypes because they're poly or sexual. Advice on dealing? Yeah, I hate that. I do not like when people think that I am a bad bisexual stereotype, but I just kind of lean into it because I'm like, look, man, like I don't like those videos that are like, I'm bisexual, but I'm not slutty. I'm bisexual, but I'm monogamous. It's like, good for you, but other bi people aren't. And we're all allowed to exist. Why do straight women have issues with dating bi guys? Biphobia. I think that sucks. I think that really sucks. And I think that's where bisexual men have like such a unique problem, because I think they have like AIDS panic or something, or they think that they're duplicitous, or they think that it's like this down low situation, and that sucks. That fucking sucks. And like, straight women, get your shit together and be fine with bisexual guys, because bi means that they're into you, and your own insecurity is not their problem. Is it more important to come out and be true to yourself than stay closeted because you risk losing your job? No, it is more important to be safe. How do you come out to family that dislikes gray areas? Just keep repeating yourself. I know it sucks, but just keep being like, I am bi. Even my family was very open. It took them a while for them to understand that bi meant bi. So just keep repeating it. What is it like being bisexual and polyamorous? Have you had a problem with one and not the other in both groups? I think I'm lucky. I think that solves a lot of problems for me. So I haven't really had any problems from either group, other than like bisexual people being like, you're a bad example, but like, I'm only example for myself. So if you're part of a marginalized group and you're telling someone from that group that they have to behave in a certain respectability politics way so that you will accept them into your group, fuck you. What's your earliest memory of having a crush on a boy and a girl? Love you, Gabby. Boy, I think I had a crush on like a friend of mine when I was very young, maybe like second grade. And then girl, I think I also liked his sister. How do you embrace your sexuality? Every time I'm with a guy, I'm like, oh yeah, soup straight. But when I'm with a lady, I'm like, I'm gay as fuck. That's called being bisexual. And look, I struggle so much with this. Like, it's really ongoing. It's an ongoing journey. Don't expect it to be solved one day. 58 questions from one tweet. Wow, there really needs to be more resources.